Hi, so this is my oral presentation for exam one. Um, so there's three groups of mammals and two subclasses. So the subclass Prototheria, which is the order Monotremata, and then subclass Theria, which is the infraclass Metatheria, aka marsupials, and then Eutheria, aka placentals. So nearly 300 million years ago, adaptations occurred for animals to reproduce on land, including the creation of the amniotic egg. So it all arose during the Cynodontia, the late Triassic era, after dinosaurs disappeared. The synapsids, or the proto-mammals, were the dominant land animals during the late Paleozoic and the early Mesozoic, which gave rise to mammals and terrestrial fauna. So monotremes, which I'll be talking about first, is the first in wild animals. So the similarities between all of these subclasses, there is a lot. So pretty much the major ones is the lower jaw, the articulation of the jaw, the bones change and shift over time. Mammals are the only vertebrates to have an external structure, which is the pinna of the ear to intercept sound waves. And they also contain three middle ear bones, a quadrate, articular, and angular. Their hyaline movements, so the perisagittal plane versus how reptiles move, containing a diaphragm in the respiratory system is very unique just to mammals. Of various glands that are produced. Digestive system cannot digest cellulose, so they have hindgut or foregut fermenters. A large amount of sense organs, including smell, touch, vision, and they have the neocortex in their brain, which is a cerebral cortex portion involved in higher order brain functions in mammals. So only 5 living monotreme species are today on this world, and they are highly derived with snouts and beaks, and they have no teeth. Juveniles have teeth, but as they get older, they do lose them. And platypuses have hardened dermal tissues in lieu of teeth. And then another difference, platypuses are actually venomous, which I'll go over in a little bit in the later slides. So the similarities with reproductive techniques. So they produce milk to nurse young via mammary glands, mammogenesis, which is regulated by progesterone, followed by lactogenesis, which is stimulated by prolactin via the act of suckling. And when suckling occurs, the oxytocin is produced that creates the milk letdown. So key to reproductive success are timed with favorable environmental conditions such as photoperiod, temperature, energy, and nutrition. So main difference, reproductive wise, monotremes are oviparous mammals, meaning they lay eggs in highly nutritional states. So they're thick calcareous to protect that young, and then there's yolk that nourishes the young. So the transfer of milk to the young is not through any nipples or teats. They actually lack nipples. It's through the pores of milk patches through ducts of a single mammary gland. And they inhabit Australia and New Guinea, the 5 species. So the one example is the duck-billed platypus. It's a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal who resides in eastern Australia and Tasmania. Most of its food they get through underwater insects, larvae, and they do it by their keen sense of smell. So about the venomous aspect. So the mammals have a venom spur on the heels of their hind limbs, and it's used against other males during mating season. It's not fatal to us, but I heard it does inflict some serious pain. So metatherians, they diverged around 148 million years ago. So the similarities mirrored the monotremes. Again, articulation of the jaw, the pin of the ear, the 3 middle ear parts, perisagittal plane, and so on. The difference is the palate of marsupials is usually fenestrated with large gaps in the bony surface. They have an angular process that's medially bent. The brain case is smaller. They have zygomatic bone is large and forming part of the glenoid fossa. And then the lacrimal canal of the eye is a little bit different as well. So reproductive wise, again, they produce milk just as the other ones do through the mammogenesis and lactogenesis. And then the females contain nipples or teats, unlike the monotremes, and the number of teats determine the maximum litter. So the difference is they are viviparous. viviparous, giving birth to live young in a highly altricial state. And most of the development is completed after they are birthed, and they stay in an abdominal pouch called the marsupium and attached to the mother's nipple. Another thing that's really wild about Metatherians is their reproductive tracts are fully doubled. So two cervix, two vaginas. Birth occurs through pseudovaginal canal due to the male anatomy. Because the male has a sliced penis, the women have a fully doubled reproductive system. So the lactation is a long period of time, and milk changes throughout the lactation period. So they're an ancient group, very diverse. They're found mostly in Central and South America and Australia. Again, then we have the North American possum. So here's some information about the kangaroo. Their large feet, they're macropods. And opossums, main thing about them, they don't get rabies, which is amazing because they're lower body temperature. They eat ticks. They also possess a protein in its blood called the LTNF, which shows to detoxify a wide variety of poisons. So eutherians, again, similarities are mirroring the same ones as the monotremes and the marsupials. They diverged around 148 million years ago. So differences are mostly phenotypic, feet, ankles, jaws, and teeth. Dentation's different. And then the epipubic bone. So this allows expansion of abdomen during pregnancy. So difference reproductive wise, again, similarities, they produce milk. They produce milk, mammogenesis and lactogenesis. The differences for the repro is they give birth to young, varying between altricial and precocial, and they have that chorioallantoic placenta, which is an amazing organ that forms after conception at the site of the embryo, and then it bonds to the mother's uterus, and so I'm not going to go super into it, but it forms the placenta, the chronic villi. Thousands of it grow after implantation. So placenta is used for nutrition diffusion, respiration, excretion, and produces hormones. And it's also a nice barrier against bacteria and other molecules. They are distributed all across the world. A few examples are horses. So they evolved a million years ago into the large single-toed animal that they are now, a hoofed mammal. And the lion is also another example. They're a large cat. They're apex and keystone predators. And they're very social species forming prides. So I chose smell as my sense organ. So it's accomplished through an elaborate olfactory system composed of chemosensory subsystems, which I listed here. So it starts with inhalation. So breathing in, stimulation is vital. So you have to have something that stimulates that process. Then detection. So the olfactory sensory neurons detect what odor this is, and we have about 500 different odor receptors capturing a specific set of odor molecules. Then activation, so the neurons activate at the smell, and then message decoded. So what is the smell? Smell is very acute in mammals, and it's the largest gene family in mammalian genome. It's used for puberty, female estrous cycle, mate choice, territory defense, kin recognition, social resolution. Here's and also a diagram for that. So an example is reptiles. So the differences between reptiles, birds, and mammals. Reptiles pick up particles in the air by flicking their tongues, and then they bring it back into their mouth, and the scent is registered. They also have Jacobson's organ, detects pheromones, finds prey, and is located in their nose. So it's mostly developed in lizards and snakes, and it's actually been lost in turtles. Birds, they have bills and tube noses that they can follow ocean surface scent upwind that's been miles away, and they have hypersensitive cavities on beaks, and they also use odors to communicate with other birds for social and territorial reasons. So as you can see, humans lack on the test, this smell test 0.01, versus a mouse is at 2%. So fertilization, so delayed fertilization. So it happens, it's a sperm storage occurs in females after copulation has occurred. It can be highly adaptive to animals with long dormancy periods and short active seasons. It pretty much allows gestation to begin immediately at end of dormancy, and it delays between mating and birth. And then it could provide an enhanced opportunity for sperm competition, extending time for ejaculates to interact with the repro tract. An example is little brown bats. They are they have delayed fertilization, and they fertilize the spring after hibernation, so they don't drain all that energy being pregnant while hibernating. Delayed implantation. So that is ovulation, fertilization, and initial cleavage into blastocyte occurs, but further development is arrested. So there's a few things. So it prevents producing offspring that females cannot handle, that they cannot support. So it saves energy for reserves. And as we know, finding a mate takes a lot of time and energy. So it allows mating to happen at the most advantageous times of the year, and the bears are actually able to devote energy in preparation for the winter months. And if they're underweight, malnourished, they can't raise a young. They will not get pregnant. So black bears, as I said, black bears have a unique reproductive adaptation, allowing them to give birth when they are in good physical condition. So delayed development. So the blastocyte implants into the uterine lining, which arrests any embryonic development. It stops, it stalls, and it allows mating to occur in summer and fall, and delays partition until next spring when more food is readily available. So it's really important for colonies, nursing colonies. So they all sync up at the same time. And the greater sac-winged bat is a good example of delayed development. So deep hibernation. The yellow-bellied marmot is an example of deep hibernation. So hibernation is not hyperthermia. It's not unregulated loss of body temp. It's a regulated drop in body temperature to lose less energy and fat storage to survive the winter months. So the marmots hibernate because it's a way to cope with the cold. Enter deep hibernation state to survive the long cold winters when food is not very available. They usually do around 7 to 8 months. They're considered true hibernators. They don't emerge until the following spring, and their body temperatures can decrease to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit and slow their their heart's beats per minute to 3 to 4, and they survive on fat stored during the summer. So it's a benefit because of the less risk for predation, less exposed to pathogens, and they actually tend to have a higher, longer lifespan due to slowing epigenetic aging. So shallow hibernation allows an animal to save energy minus the stress of going into that deep hibernation. So it's a nice sweet settlement between energy requirements of a true hibernator and energy used by a non-hibernator. So eastern chipmunks, they are shallow hibernators. They have to because it's crucial for their survival during winter months, ensuring survival during harsh cold months, and they stay intact and safe. It's usually October, early November, and they remain in their burrows until March or April, but it depends where they are located in the US, south versus north. They do not truly hibernate. They enter a stage of torpor, which the body temperature and heart rate decreases, but they will not be asleep for the entire season. They get up every few weeks, defecate, leave, and whatnot. So the benefits is adjusting rate of energy consumption via time spent in torpor, saving energy without stress of true hibernation. And then the torpor is actually positively correlated to a key in aiding spring reproductive fitness. So I chose the 9-banded armadillo. They are the only species found in the USA, southern, eastern, and they expand continually northward for, it's been about 100 years they've been studying that. They eat usually termites, other insects, vegetation, and so on. Unique adaptations. So they pretty much lack muscle mass to support antebrachial supination, and they have a lot of anthropogenic adaptations too. So the speed of the armadillo's natural range expansion is because of humans. And then because of humans, again, the timing of the armadillo activity has shifted. They usually do right after sunset, and now those times are getting earlier too. So that may play a toll on their overall fitness. So their reproduction, so they're kind of wild. So all females are polyembryonic, which they give birth to litters of genetically identical quadruplets. And they're the only vertebrates known to contract leprosy naturally, so they're used in a lot of research. They're sometimes considered pests because of their burrowing habits. As you can see, they have a quite large burrows that they do. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.